advice to my children and grandchildren, those who ride snowmobiles. Rescued by a helicopter with Rich Johnson. Rescued by the helicopter with Rich Johnson. We went up on approximately Valentine's Day. This has been 15, 20 years ago. And there was a ton of snow. There was 30 inches of new snow. We went up to a place called Tower Mountain, and that's up above Heber. Anyway, we were up there, and we were riding through the snow all day long. It was awesome. It was so tremendously awesome. We had a lot of fun up there. But during the course of the day, we started to get low on gas. Rich, his snowmobile, which was a Polaris something or other, Ultra or something like that. Anyway, it started acting up and making weird sounds. So we were about 16 miles back in the mountains up by Tower Mountain, which is, like I say, is east of Heber or Woodland, Utah. Anyway, by Camas. Anyway, we're up there, and his sled started to break down. So I'm like, okay, I better pull you out. So I got hooked onto his sled, and I started pulling him out. Well, as we were pulling on the road, there's a ton of snow. We've ridden most of our gas out, but we don't want to get stuck up there. I'm driving, and I'm pulling him, and suddenly my snowmobile quits. I'm like, oh, great. And we're down in a valley. We do have old-fashioned cell phones, the old brick phones. We do have the old-fashioned cell phones, and I'm thinking, I want to get a connection here. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, approximately February 14th, or approximately Valentine's Day. So and it's on a Wednesday. There's nobody up there. I think we saw maybe 2 or 3 people on sleds, but we're up there by ourselves. We're on the road, and I start praying, Heavenly Father, I could really use a cell phone connection here. And as I'm praying, I'm thinking, Heavenly Father, I really need a cell phone connection. This is not good. It's going to be really cold tonight. It got down to about 16, 18 below zero that night. So as I'm praying, we're putting our stuff in our bags because we're going to hike to the top of the road. We're going to follow the road up and hike up to the top of the mountain and hopefully get up to where we can make a phone call, where we have reception and we can get a phone call. And this is 20 years ago. Anyway, I'm sitting there praying, and all of a sudden I hear this weird sound. And Rich didn't know that I was praying. I don't think we had a prayer together. We may have, but I don't remember this. Anyway, I'm praying, and all of a sudden I hear this weird sound. And I look over about a quarter mile away, roughly, maybe 500 yards away. I see a helicopter coming up the valley. And that helicopter comes and it flies right over us, and I just start waving. And I'm waving, and I'm pointing at the sleds. They're broken. I'm waving, pointing at the sleds and going, they're broken. Waving, pointing, they're broken. And Rich looks at me and he says, they're not going to come and pick us up. What are you thinking? I'm like, well, I thought to myself, well, I just said a prayer. I've been praying for the last 15 minutes while we're getting loaded up. I assume that if a helicopter flies by and I've been praying, I'm going to at least try to I'm going to try to see if I can get their attention so they can at least help us or notify somebody that we're here. So anyway, the helicopter kept going, and then suddenly it turns back and flies back around. And they come and they hover right by us. And I'm like, don't land there. It's really soft and fluffy. It's stronger over here. So they landed on the road about 100 feet from us, maybe 200 feet, something like that from us. So we walked over and they go, what's going on? And I says, our snowmobiles are broke down. And this is the end of the day. And it's it's cold up there. It's way cold. It ended up being 16 below zero that night. And they said, well, we're going to Heber. Where are you parked? I says, we're parked over in Woodland by Camas, that area. They go, well, we're going to Heber. I go, well, we're parked over by Woodland. And they said again, if you want our help, we're going to Heber. I'm like, well, Heber sounds good. So there's 3 guys in this 4-place helicopter. So Rich jumps in with his stuff, and they go, I'm like, well, I guess I'm just going to wait here, and you guys can tell somebody that our sleds are broke down and come back and get us. Search and rescue can come back and get us. They go, well, jump in. I'm like, there's no room in the helicopter. I says, it's a 4-place helicopter. You want a 5th guy to get in? I'm like, okay, 5 guys. So I scooted in there. I says, will it work? He goes, the pilot says, I don't know. We'll find out. pulls on it, that helicopter lifted up, and we are flying into Heber. It took us about 20 minutes to get into Heber, roughly 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. Flew it up. I'm just seeing our snowmobiles getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and we start flying out of the mountains. We flew all the way over into Heber. They dropped us off at the airport. It was so cool. We hadn't been broken down for 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the most, probably 15 minutes, before I said a prayer. Heavenly Father knew where we were at, what we needed. A helicopter drove by, and I rarely see helicopters out while I'm snowmobiling. We waved them down, they landed, they picked us up, and within a half an hour to 45 minutes, we were in where it was warm in Heber at the airport. They flew into the airport, they dropped us off with our equipment, our packs, our helmets, and it was kind of a sunny day down in Heber. It was a nice, beautiful day. You know, it's a February 14th type day in Heber. It was a beautiful time. But as we got there, they dropped us off. I says, we want to pay you. Well, we'll get a hold of you, whatever. They took off. They never did send us any bill or anything like that. But they were just very helpful and said we wouldn't have left you. And they were very helpful. They helped us. They helped save our uncomfortable experience at the very least, in our lives at this above and beyond that. But I knew that Heavenly Father knew where I was at and what I needed by those prayers. We got to the airport. There was nobody there at the airport. We called his wife and says, hey, meet us. We need to have a truck. She didn't believe us that our sleds had broke down, that we were in Heber, but whatever. We did get through to her, and Diane eventually sent his son, or they came up with a trailer. But anyway, we walked over to the road. There was nobody there. Finally, some truck came, and I stood right in the road and says, hey, we need help. They helped us. They got us to the little corner store there in Heber, right by the Hub Cafe. There was a little gas station right there at the center street right there in Heber on the south end. We went into the store. We were asking people, are you going to Camas? Are you going to Woodland? We were parked over in Camas. Can you help us get over there? I had some relatives in Camas. Nobody were able to help us. Nobody was going that way. They all kind of, yeah, sorry, we're not going that way. Finally, this mother pulled up with her big van with all of her kids in it. And I thought, well, what the heck? I might as well ask her. And I says, ma'am, do you think you happen to be going to Heber? Our sleds broke down up in the mountains and we need a ride to Heber. She goes, no, I'm not going to Heber, but my husband's the snowmobile dealer in Heber here, and I'll take my kids home and then we'll go get you and we'll take you back over to Camas, which is about, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes away. So they drove us, this couple. He was the snowmobile repair guy, the snowmobile dealer for Polaris in Heber. I don't remember his name. I wish I could thank him again. And they were both remarried to each other because their spouses had died. They both had 4 or 5 children each. So now they had 8 or 10 children in their family. And that couple was so nice. They took us and they told us their story as they took us to took us to Camas, dropped us off there at my relative's house, and then Rich's wife met us with a truck and a snowmobile trailer in the morning. We slept there in their house in Camas, and then we got our sleds the next day, went up and pulled them all out. But the thing I want to impress upon this story is your Father in heaven knows where you're at, and he knows what your needs. You need to be able to ask him for help and be able to recognize and act upon the help that he sends you when it is sent. And so the summary is, we had a great day, our sleds broke down, the helicopter came within 15 minutes or 20 minutes of us being stranded, picked us up, took us into Heber, and we were safe. I am positive that prayer works. This is a huge miracle to me, but it's also a simple miracle that he knows where we're at and knows how to help us when we are in need of help. We just need to be able to act upon the gifts and the blessings that he gives us when he gives them to us.